Hello, everyone. I presented earlier today in the morning session. I'm a professor in ECS and CSAIL, as well as a co-founder of this company, Nectry. And basically, the problem we're trying to solve is that there's, on the one hand, so much value to being able to customize software solutions in the context of particular companies, but it's extremely expensive and slow to do that customization today. You can use old school software engineering efforts, which requires attracting people with rare talents who are constantly being pulled away by big tech companies. Or you can use AI-enabled tools to streamline that process. You can use more old school low code and no code tools. All these have some significant challenges if we want to make it really streamlined so that people who are not the top software engineers can create customizations for important software packages used within a company and maintain them over time at a reasonable cost. So Nectry is presenting a platform to kind of get the best of all those worlds where, without requiring software engineering effort, you can customize the software as a service tools that you depend on. It's built on a bunch of really cool deep technology I don't have time to tell you about, but definitely stop by our table where my co-founders will be manning the demo, since I have to go off and teach shortly after this talk. But it has cool compilers technology, both streamlines development and produces higher quality software solutions in the end in dimensions like performance and security. But the one key idea I want to get across here is that the way Nectry works is by developing a novel architecture of high-level reusable components, standing for features that make sense to regular people who are not software engineers. Every component encapsulates inside of it the full stack of features needed in a production quality web application, front end, back end, and database, so you can snap them together without even knowing what those words mean and get complete solutions quickly. And these components are very high level compared to what you'll see in other platforms. They can be something like a connector to an existing SaaS tool, but even more interestingly, they can stand for a familiar feature like a ticket system or a data integration process. You can just invoke those by name, explain how to connect them to your data, and then our platform generates the rest of the code for a working application. And we, of course, have our own AI-enabled front end, like many other tools these days. So you can chat with an LLM, but instead of coming up with thousands of lines of Python code or something like that, you're coming up with a very short description of picking some blocks out of our library and plugging them together. Humans can read it and check that something reasonable came out. And then once it's written, the process of producing the production-ready application from there doesn't use AI anymore. It's extremely predictable and reliable. We also have a compiler that takes applications written in this way, where naively you'd think data is following a windy path through all these building blocks you're plugging together. Our compiler straightens out those paths, removes the overhead of abstraction, and produces code in line in performance with what an expert developer would write. So one example I want to highlight, we'll be showcasing it at our table later. It was for a customer that uses, like so many of us, SAP Concur for handling expense report reimbursement. And Concur didn't understand some of the details of how their company works. So there were some commonalities in every expense report that was filed, wasting the time of their employees filling out all these highly predictable elements of trips and meals and so forth. We worked with them to understand the commonalities across their expense reports and build an AI-powered tool that is able to apply exactly the right rules for their context and save everyone time. So overall, we're here looking for design partners, could be from companies around the world who are interested in using tools like this to help them maintain internal software solutions that are perfectly tailored to their needs without needing software engineering effort to make that work. We're interested in all kinds of industries, though two we've been looking at especially closely so far are biopharma and finance. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question. I work in Fidelity, and there are a lot of frameworks and guidelines and when building individual architectural layers, like there is a state management platform, there is context management platform. We use GraphQL to get to data, and it's just experiencing. We use microservices, we use data jobs. How you can apply these different types of guidelines and how you can customize it?
Right. So Nectry can connect to existing external services, and I think some of the examples you mentioned fall into that category. Our goal, though this isn't fully implemented yet, is you can point Nectry to your, say, web-based documentation for some kind of microservice, and then it ingests that and figures out how it works, and then makes it available within our platform. And then a further layer on top of that, when you think about security and privacy and regulatory considerations, we have a framework for describing policies about what information is allowed to flow between those existing services in what ways. And a small team of technical experts can curate a library of policies like that, which are then automatically enforced for the solutions being created by people who are the experts on the specific business processes that they're automating.
We have time for one more question. Ready? Well, Professor, let me ask you, how does Nectry fit into the landscape of AI-based coding assistants? If you can expand on that a little more.
Yeah, sure. So most coding assistants these days are being used to write programs in conventional languages like Python or Java or something, where the artifact that the app developer is negotiating on with the AI is quite voluminous, with all these lines of code going into excruciating detail. In Nectry, instead, the app developer is negotiating on a nice, succinct description of the app as just a plugging together of a bunch of high-level reusable building blocks, which makes for an end result that's much more understandable to people and also more understandable to machines, which lets us do things like enforce security and privacy rules.